We're going to continue with Perek Alef Mishna test. Shimon ben Shetach Omer, Shimon ben Shetach said, having marbe lachkor es ha'edim, you should do a lot of checking and testing out of the witnesses. You should be careful with your words. Maybe from amongst your words they will learn to lie. Says Rashi, what does this mean? You should be careful with your words. When should you be careful with your words? When you are testing them and you're trying to ascertain if their stories hold up and they're telling the truth, you have to be very careful with what you say. Why? Because maybe from amongst your words, they will understand that which is in your heart. And they will understand to lie and say that which was not, that which never happened. So Rashi is saying the Mishna is teaching us that when the judge is giving a test to the witnesses and they separate the witnesses out, or if it's one witness, whatever the particular case may be, and he wants to make sure that the witness's story is credible. So he asks him different questions and asks him this way, that way, and go over the story again and whatever it may be. And all this is to find out that he's telling the truth, and also what facts, particular facts of the case that the judge needs to know about, what he has to say about that. So Rashi says the Mishna is telling the judge that you have to be very careful how you phrase things, how you say things, and what tone you use, etc. Because perhaps as you're asking the witness questions, he'll realize that you keep honing in on a certain point, or you keep asking about a certain thing. And he'll figure out that what you want to know is X, Y, and Z, and he's going to end up basically telling you what you want to hear, be it if he wants to make the person guilty, innocent, whatever the situation may be. And really, that's not what happened, and that's not what he saw, it's not what he knows, but he'll make it up because now he knows what he has to say to either get the person convicted or to get him off, etc. Therefore, the Mishna is telling the judge that he should be very careful and pay close attention to what he says, to ensure that the witnesses don't know what the judge is trying to get at, and therefore they won't tell him what he wants to hear, rather they'll tell him just what they saw and what they know, and that'll be all. And if we stop to think about this, it seems very strange, because who are we talking to over here? We're talking to someone who's a judge. Now, obviously, someone who is a dayan, by default, they may not be, the biggest Talmid Chacham that ever lived, but they have to be a pretty big Talmid Chacham. You cannot be a dayan if you're not an expert in that body of halacha, whatever it may be, right? If it's a Hilchos Mammon, it's a monetary case, you have to be an expert in Hilchos Mammon, in the Chol Mishpat. If it's a divorce case, Kedushin, you have to be an expert in Even Ezer. So whatever the particular type of case is, you must be an expert in that case. And certainly if we're dealing with dayanim in the times of going back in the Mishnayos or earlier, who had smicha, and they could judge all kinds of cases, they had to be incredible Talmidei Chachamim. So what the Mishna here is telling the judge seems pretty elementary, it seems pretty obvious. Obviously, when you're going to test the Eidim out and you're going to inspect what they're saying, you should be careful not to tip them off what you're trying to figure out, so that they don't know what to tell you. Right? It sounds pretty basic. You ask the judge about this, he'll tell you, of course. Yeah, obviously. Well, I'm not going to tell him I'm looking to find out about X, Y, and Z. Now, what do you have to say about it? Right? I'm not going to be open about it, and I'm obviously not going to say something which is going to clearly show what I'm trying to do. So, if it's so obvious, and these people are obviously pretty wise people, pretty smart people, they made it to the position of dayan, so why is it necessary for the Mishna to warn them about this? It seems superfluous, and seems like a waste of time, and does not seem necessary. And it would seem that the answer is that, of course, the judge, before the Mishna came along, is going to be very careful. And he's well aware that he cannot say something which tips the witness off to what he's trying to figure out. Because if he does that, then the witness will know what he wants to find out, and he'll tell him whatever is convenient for the witness to tell him, whatever the case may be. So the judge knows all that, and obviously he's not going to do that. So then what's the Mishna doing? Why is it telling him not to do this? And it seems perhaps that the pshat is that because although the judge knows this, and obviously he's going to conduct himself in that manner, but he's not necessarily focused on it. It's something which he knows and he understands, and if you ask him about it, he'll tell you, of course, it's obvious, and he won't have to think twice about it. It's not a chiddush to him, and he will never think otherwise. But at the end of the day, it's just something that he knows and is aware of, but he's not necessarily focused on. And the Mishna is coming to tell the judge, be locked in. You have to be focused on this critical point. Make sure you measure every word, game plan beforehand, how you're going to ask the questions, because you don't want to, by mistake, slip up and tip off the witness to what you want to find out. And if that's the case, it comes out something very interesting. You have here a judge, and the whole purpose of what he's trying to do is to get down to the facts. What actually happened? He's just trying to find out what happened. What's the reality? What is the truth? And he's putting in a lot of effort to do so, because he's spending time interrogating these witnesses. And he's asking them all sorts of questions just for the purpose of finding out what actually happened. He's just trying to ascertain to the best of his ability what happened. That's what he's engaged in. Yet, if he doesn't put a specific focus and take a moment to think about that, the words I'm going to say could possibly tip off this witness, and therefore, what words should I use when I ask my question? What question should I ask? What angle should I come from while I ask the question? What tone should I use? Etc. Then it's very possible that while he's engaging in this whole process of trying to find out the truth and trying to get down to what happened, he, on the contrary, could end up ruining his whole ability to find out the truth, and on the contrary, causing it that he gets the exact opposite, and he gets a picture of something which never happened. And if this is the case, we see something very interesting, very incredible, that you can have a person who knows something, and it's something which is obvious to them. It's not a chiddush to them. It's not something new, and it's not something they have any doubt about. It's 100% obvious to them. And you can wake them in the middle of the night, and you can ask them about it, and they'll tell you in a snap of a finger. They have no hesitation, no nothing. This is obvious. It's as obvious to them as 1 + 1 = 2. They don't have to think about it. The sky is blue. There's nothing to talk about. Yet, if they're not specifically focused on it, then at the very moment where they're trying to accomplish a specific goal, and what they're doing is for that purpose, to accomplish that goal, i.e. to find out what really happened, it can end up that they end up doing just the opposite and causing just the opposite. And they end up getting the picture of what didn't happen and a total lie. All because of the fact they weren't specifically focused on it. And it comes out that even when a person knows something, and it could be very obvious to them, they have no doubt about it. And in life, many times, there are things like that. Obviously, sometimes we don't have it so clear, and it's not quite so obvious to us. But even if it is, but if a person lives their life without putting a specific focus on it, a lot of times a person thinks, I already know it. What's the need to review it? What's the need to think about it? This is something I know, that I'm wasting my time. Why do I have to go over it again? Why do I have to, hear about it again and focus on it? Why is that necessary? And we see from here that it's critically necessary, because if a person doesn't put in the effort and take the time to reevaluate and refocus and review the things that they know already and that are clearly obvious to them, then it could come out that not only are they not going to accomplish or act in accordance with that which they know to be true, but it could come out that, on the contrary, not only won't they be in accordance with it, they could come out doing just the opposite of it and accomplishing exactly what they're not trying to do and what they don't want to do. And all because of the fact that they didn't refocus themselves and review. They're not learning anything new. There's no chidushim here. They're not finding out any new information. It's literally just reviewing over a fact which to them is obvious. But if we don't do that, and we don't take the time to focus ourselves and recenter ourselves, then even those things that we know to be true and that are clearly obvious to us, not only will we not accomplish them, but we could chas v'shalom end up doing exactly the opposite of them. And Be'ez Hashem, if we take this approach in life, and we review over those things that are obvious to us, and how much more so those things which are not so obvious to us and they're not so clear to us, and we can refocus ourselves on those things and put them in the front of our mind, then Be'ez Hashem, through that we can accomplish all the things that we want to accomplish and come closer and closer to Hashem and be zocher to all the incredible bracha that Hashem wants to give us.